What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time to talk about the new studio album by metalcore and pop punk, the heaviest pop punk band of all time as they describe themselves, A Day to Remember. The new one is called Bad Vibrations, and it's the follow-up to an album that I really did enjoy. Common Courtesy came out in 2013, and I thought it was a fantastic record that just featured a lot of genuine anger towards their former label Victory Records, obviously a lot of other people as well, and also had some fun with itself. Saw them just like sitting back, reminiscing, telling stories about their hometown of Ocala, Florida, and overall a very enjoyable listen. I was excited to listen to the follow-up Bad Vibrations, but the lead single Paranoia just didn't really get me that hyped. I guess it kind of dragged it back down for me and started worrying me as to what this album would sound like. But then we got the single, the title track, Bad Vibrations, and those were the only two tracks I allowed myself to hear preceding this album's release. I really did like the title track. There's a lot of energy there. I like the breakdown on it. The guitar is very menacing once again, very A Day to Remember, but also feels like a hint of something new. And Paranoia definitely did try something new as well. The more I listened to that song, the more I did hear those nuanced layers there. Definitely more of a punk influence, but at the same time, I just don't like the lyrics. They're so predictable, and like I said in my track review, it just feels like something made for rock radio. And I understand that this song was written just kind of on the spot, knocked it out, had an idea in the studio for like 30 minutes and they just recorded it just like that and boom, song is done. But some songs need a little bit more attention to detail. On this new record, I'm happy to say that my worries were put to rest. I was hearing some negative things even though I hadn't heard the tracks. Like a lot of people didn't seem to be pleased with Bullfight, which is a track that has become one of my favorites, and of course the other track that was released preceding this album, the track Naivety. I can't say that word to save my damn life. Naivety? Nah. While many bands in the pop punk, metalcore, and even hard rock scene tend to often go for this more processed and even pop-friendly sound, the more they go into their career, the more albums that they put out, it's nice to see A Day to Remember kind of sticking to their guns with a very heavy, menacing record, lots of screaming, lots of aggressive guitar tones, thrashing drum patterns that are definitely a blast to listen to more often than not. Just heavy, solid instrumentals and awesome vocals from lead singer Jeremy McKinnon. He definitely has a very distinct voice, and I do have a lot of problems with many metalcore vocalists just blending together, and of course the lyrical content is often just not there. A Day to Remember have always been kind of top-notch in that regard for me, and I'm excited to see a lot of these songs just definitely keeping their game up and keeping A Day to Remember's name living well. But some of these songs do bring down the pacing of the record a bit for me. Naivety, the track that I already mentioned, is one that just seems really formulaic for A Day to Remember, a band that often stands out and stands out well from a crowd, and you listen to them and you're thinking, why would I listen to these other bands whenever I could listen to this? And it's so much better, so much more quality. But whenever I listen to tracks like this, it just feels like it could have been done by anyone. And the real problem I feel like I have with that track is just the awkward transition from like verse to chorus and just how stale the lyrical content on it. It almost feels a little bit pandering, honestly. I did find myself having to let some of these songs sit with me a bit before they really started to grow. Reassemble was one of those. I really love the outro on that track. It's absolutely beautiful. It strips it down to just the guitar and some light vocals. And We Got This, another one that's kind of just talking about like the music community, people at shows and that sort of thing, and just finding your place. It's a little bit cliche, but honestly, it's kind of an uplifting anthem, and I have to give them credit where credit is due. It works. On my first few listens through this record, I found the first half of the record being like the harder tendencies, and the second half being maybe a little bit more mellow and definitely more pop punk leaning, catchy, and just, I guess, pop friendly, something that you could sing along with. But honestly, as I've let the record sit with me, I do find that there's songs on the first half that are getting the job done in that regard as well. And Bullfight is one of those that I have to highlight. This is one of those tracks that I just saw getting crushed from some fans online, and I'm not exactly understanding why. It definitely has some very A Day to Remember aspects about it, and I know I keep saying that, but if you're a fan of the band, it's easy to put a finger on exactly what I'm talking about whenever I say, very A Day to Remember. It's one of those tracks that has the harder elements, but it also has some very nuanced bass work, some awesome drumming. I like how they break it up and kind of ride the line between very hard and menacing and just a little bit more just earwormy, I suppose. It's one of those tracks that gets the breakdown right, and McCannon's vocals on this track just sound absolutely phenomenal. And I have to say that whenever Jeremy can pull these things off, like screaming, singing, and then balancing it together with like pop-friendly elements and rock, it's definitely something that I'm on board for. McKinnon's voice really gets a chance to shine on two tracks towards the end of this record that I'm really loving. Have to highlight those as some of my favorites, but honestly, even after like Reassemble, Bullfight, I really like almost every single song. Not entirely, and I'm not going to say in love, but they're all at least decent tracks. And I'm not saying that this is A Day to Remember's best work, because honestly I was a little bit let down because it is a shift in quality from Common Courtesy. But tracks like 6 through 11, man, yeah, they're pretty good. The first of the two tracks I wanted to mention is Justified. I think the intro to this track is absolutely gorgeous. I love the outro on Reassemble, like I was talking about earlier. It just kind of has a slow fade on it. It's a very aggressive song in parts, and then of course it slowly breaks down to just that guitar and Jeremy's voice, and then we see that kind of transitioning perfectly into track number 7, Justified. I love how he's singing Burn Me Alive, if you feel that's justified, and it gets more aggressive. The drums and the vocals and the guitars all come together and culminate in a beautiful track that really just plays out perfectly. I couldn't be more happy with just how catchy and heavy this song is in parts. Now the other track I'm going to talk about is the closer, Forgive and Forget, and I'm not going to say that it's necessarily a top favorite, but I really do have to point out Jeremy on this track in particular. The lyrical content is definitely there, it's growing on me, but his voice on this track sounds very familiar, in a way very haunting as it builds and grows and intensifies, but he did a spectacular job here. And honestly, I would love to see this one live. I just saw these guys recently with Blink-182, and they put on a hell of a show. There's definitely some varied guitar patterns and outside instrumentation on this record. You're going to hear keyboards pop up a few times and some other organic instruments, maybe a few different drumming styles and even guitar techniques that you didn't expect from A Day to Remember. And I have to praise the track Same As You for being one of those moments that really stands out. Honestly, this song feels like something that could have come out of the mid-2000s, and I'm a huge fan of that time period in music. And this track just really starts off with those like kind of choppy guitars. It's just a nice thumping pattern that builds, and then that transition to like the layered vocals during the chorus, just they really pull it off here, and I feel like it sounds great. Some of those tracks that you'll hear in the scene, especially with those layered vocals, will just sound absolutely ridiculous, but this is fortunately not one of those tracks at all. And I love the aggressive breakdown before it transitions over to a regular guitar solo, and I love how they can just kind of mold those two things together. They pull it off so well. And right after that, we get the track Turn Off the Radio, a very upbeat, just kind of in your face, get your foot stomping track, and I like the end of this record. They're just on a win streak towards the end, and the more I listen to it, the more I like it. I don't think this record is going to be for everyone. Not even all A Day to Remember fans will be pleased, but I found that listening to this record multiple times, I think I've heard it about 7 or 8 times at this point, it definitely lets it settle in with you, and you're going to start to like and uncover some different things about this record. I don't think it's Common Courtesy, which is kind of that alongside Homesick being my favorite records for them, but it's not a huge drop in quality, and that's something that I'm very pleased to say. For the new record, Bad Vibrations by A Day to Remember, I'm going with a 3.5. What did you guys think of Bad Vibrations? Let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below, and while you're here, support the channel, support the video by leaving a like on it, and maybe subscribe to the channel, because friends don't let friends go unsubscribed. Thanks so much for sticking with me during this very busy time that I've been going with. Videos are going to be coming back all of August. I was pretty much just preoccupied with my other job, but transitioning soon, we should be back into full swing. If there's any other albums you'd like to see me tackle, of course I know you're looking for Frank Ocean. Keep looking, it should be coming very soon. Then let me know others in the comment section down below. I will see you guys very soon. Check out recent reviews right below me, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the socials. socials in the description, and I'll see you soon on ARTV.